My name is Lawrence Diggs, and we're now in Roslyn, South Dakota, the center of the known universe. Well, I'm a vinegar specialist. What I do is help people make vinegar out of anything that has enough sugar or starch in it. That's what I'm mostly interested in, if you can say my fort, so to speak. About 20 years ago, I came to Roslyn, South Dakota, really looking for a way to just do some writing in a quiet space. And once I got here and got kind of established, I found that there was lots more things that I started to think about, and as a result, I started writing about. I started thinking more about writing about people and what they were doing and their interactions. I started doing more things with gender issues, and I started doing more writing about interaction between people. And the experience of being in Roslyn, as well as the experience of traveling around the world, it just gave me this idea that, there really is no such thing as race. And why do we always get stuck on this idea about race? Ever since I can remember, really, as far as like, well, let's say high school and junior high school, and to some degree elementary school, there had been these big discussions and long dissertations, you can even say, on race. As I went from one country to another and from one community to another, even when places were supposed to be homogeneous, or all the people were supposed to be about the same, they always had a kind of an underdog, and they always used pretty much the same arguments as to why that group should be somehow the footstool of the other groups. And it just made me think, this really isn't about race at all. But if you take, for example, in this country, we know that there aren't people who can make a critical thinking definition or distinction between a white person and a black person, whatever they're calling that, because people who do nothing but think about such things can't do it. And so people who rarely think about it at all certainly wouldn't be able to. And as many presentations as I've made about that subject, I've never had anybody to say, okay, this is what a black person is, and this is what a white person is. They can't define their own race, let alone someone else's. So you think, wait a minute, you guys are putting together all that energy, spending all this money and time, all this emotional energy into something that you can't even define. I mean, we don't even get to whether it's valid to discriminate against. You can't even tell me what the heck it is. I had to write a paper on one of the many, food processing thing, particularly microbiological stuff. Along the way, I decided one of the papers was going to be vinegar. And so I got really stuck on it because it was a fascinating subject. Here was a subject you couldn't find a book on, yet all these different cultures are using it. It can be made from anything that has enough sugar or starch. It can be used for food, medicine, cleaning, all these different things. Fascinating. And I went to the library to study, to get information on it. And it turned out that at that time, there was not one textbook in the English language on vinegar. In fact, there wasn't any books at all in 1984. And I wrote that book as a result. Like I'd been here all my life, right from the beginning. I can still remember a guy, when I was looking at the place, I hadn't decided to buy it really. And so I flew out here and I was looking at the place, and I came outside, and my next door neighbor, who's since deceased, but he came over and he said, "Oh, are you moving?" in this place. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. And I said, well, I haven't decided yet. You know, I'm just a real estate agent gave me this key, told me to come up and look at it, and if I was interested, that we can talk. I said, so I'm just looking at it, really. So he said, well, the people who were in there before, I know they left in kind of a hurry, and they had a lot of stuff in there, so it's probably kind of junky in there. So that's my pickup over there if you want. You can use it. Just let the wife know that you're using it so that she'll know the kids aren't messing with it or something. And I was going, what? You know, the guy hadn't even asked me my name, and he, you know, was lending me his truck. And pretty much the people here have been just about like that. I'll put the people in this town up against any place I've been in the world, and I think they come out pretty good. Lots of people that I knew were moving out, and so I talked to other people and they were having that same kind of feeling. I said, well, you know, look, either we're part of the problem or we're part of the solution. Here I've been telling these people they have to think out of the box. They have to do something different. But if I don't do it, then what does that mean? And everybody's looking at me like, well, you're the most different guy here. You know, I mean, you do, like, we are farmers, everybody around this area, that's what they do. They do farming, and everything we do, everybody else, somebody else in another town does, you know. But you do this vinegar thing, and nobody's doing that. Isn't there something we can do with vinegar? Like make a factory or something like that. I basically designed the Vinegar Museum and wrote up a business plan, and I came back and I said, okay, here's the deal. I can do this thing, or at least we can try it. So anyway, I said, well, this is the way we do it. I'll do this thing. I'll do it for 3 to 5 years. You know, I can do it for 3 to 5 years in the summer. I was kind of figuring out, well, how would I work it? And if you guys want it, you have to take it, because I'm not going to do it forever. And I ended up doing it for almost 9 years. Last year I said, okay, I'm leaving. I'm done with it. If you guys want to do it, I have to do something else now. If you want it, you'll take it. And they took it over. I think when you're building community and when you're trying to get a community to work, it really starts with a kind of a personal relationship and personal contact with individuals. A lot of times the way we try to build community and the way we go about trying to, you know, make social change and all those things, we like to start with this global position. We like to start at 50,000 feet and start manipulating at 50,000 feet. You realize that the things are changed on the atomic and molecular level. They're not changed at these 50,000 feet levels. And to me, that says that, you know, the changes that we make really happen in the personal relationships we have with people one-on-one. Just like you're not aware that your cells in your body are doing something, all those cells are important. Just like the guy who wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning to start baking bread, so you go down to the store and buy that loaf of bread. It didn't magically appear there. There was some guy who was thinking about seeds that, you know, grew some seeds that sold to the farmer, and somebody in the truckers taking that stuff to those seeds to the farmer, and the farmer grows it, grows the wheat, takes it to the mill grinds the wheat. Somebody has to be thinking about, well, how fine should the wheat be? All of these people made that loaf of bread. Every person that you meet probably had something to do with your success and or failure. That's kind of how I had always grown up. It's like you don't just complain about something. If you think something is not going right, you may not be able to correct it, but you should make some contribution toward creating the world that you want to live in.